Howdy, it's Pete Thorn. Welcome to my studio. Welcome to another Wednesday Q&A. This is where you go to my facebook.com/guitarnerd music page on Facebook, and you ask me a question via sending me a Facebook message, and I will answer it in one of these Q&A videos just as soon as I can get to it. And let's get started. So let's see, the first question is from Lucas. And he says that I offer lots of great insight in these videos. Thank you very much, Lucas. He's having a hard time finding a happy medium when it comes to guitar setup. He says that the strings either feel too low to be good for big bends, like to grab the string, I guess, and or too high for chording up higher on the neck. As someone who plays a wide variety of styles, what would I recommend? Well, one of the things that I've grown very accustomed to is having a neck with a compound radius. So let me grab my Whitzer Classic S here. So this guitar has a compound radius fingerboard, and what that means is that it's a little bit more rounded at the lower part of the neck, and as you get up higher in the neck, the fingerboard actually flattens out a little bit. So standard back in the day for, say, a vintage Strat or something like that was a 7.5 inch radius. That meant that the neck was quite curved. This is very comfortable for chording because, of course, your fingers lie across the neck and it's just quite comfortable. But it would create things like fretting out on the upper strings. It was tough to get real low action on guitars like that with that compound radius. And the flatter the neck gets, the lower the action can get, and it's real nice for sort of flying across the neck and doing single note things. But chording can feel a little bit uncomfortable because it's just not as round and comfy. So it's all about a balance, I guess. And I've found that the compound radius necks that are offered on a lot of guitars these days really helpful. I think they're on some newer Fenders, and definitely the Suhr guys offer it. This is a 9 to 12 inch compound radius on this guitar, so it still has a sort of a vintage feel while getting into kind of modern territory as you get about halfway up the neck. They also offer a 10 to 14 inch radius on the Suhr guitars, and it looks noticeably flatter when you see the the two different radius necks. And this is a real nice one. I'm a kind of a fan of the 9 to 12 with a little bit more of that. I like vintage guitars and stuff, so it's still got a little bit more of that vintage feel going on. But the 10 to 12, really comfortable too. Now beyond that, truss rod is the most important thing to me as far as like making the guitar play really well. And I've shown how, even just a few weeks ago, I think I show how I hold the string at one end of the neck and at the other end of the neck, and I use it like a straight edge, and then kind of just make sure there's just a little bit of relief in the neck, just a hint of gap. It means that the neck's got just a bit of relief, but not too much. I like the necks almost straight with just a hair of relief because I'm a wuss. So some people can deal with more higher action and that sort of thing. So it's all a very personal thing. But I would say if you're seek out a guitar with a compound radius if you want something that's kind of comfortable all over the neck for all different types of stuff. Next up is Lars, and he says, if I were to do a blindfold test, do I think I would be able to tell on the Line 6 Helix, would I be able to tell that a sound was a modeling sound, I guess, as opposed to a real amp sound, judging by the way it reacts to picking dynamics? Modelers have come so far that I think, especially if you're talking about through studio monitors or through headphones, it can be really difficult to tell the difference. It's certainly within a full mix, a band mix, it can be difficult to tell the difference whether it's a modeler or a real amp or not. And there's so many factors. If it is a real amp, the mic on the cabinet, where the mic's at, if there's any pedals in line, it's like there's all these variables. So if you were to just play me a sound and say, what do you think, is that a modeler? I mean, no. I'm not going to be able to tell. I don't think anybody is, not at this point, not these days. Sometimes you can tell if it's like a typically sort of, some of the older modelers, they had kind of a tone to them or a sound, just sort of put a blanket on the whole tone, and it was apparent. It was like, oh, it's kind of flat sounding or something. But these days it's gotten so good. I remember the great mix engineer Bob Clearmountain when he was working on my record. He mixed 3 songs on Guitar Nerd, and he said, "What's that guitar sound on this one song?" Now I remember Bob giving advice somewhere once saying, "Record a real amp. Like, don't do the modeling thing. At least record a real amp because it makes such a big difference." But he loved this one tone that I got on my record, and I'd gotten it using some modeling stuff, and I said, "Well, actually, it's a plug-in. and he was like, you got to be kidding me. And so right there, it's like there was a guy that he's in golden ears, and he was super happy with the tone, and it was a modeling thing. At the end of the day, if the sound is good, it is good. If it came out, I don't care how I get it. That's the thing. I'm not a purist. It's like I love tube amps, and that's great. And some of this new modeling stuff, or the Axe Effects, the Kemper, the Helix, I like it all. I'll use it all in different contexts. And as long as the tone is good and it sounds good, it is good. Song on my record called I forget my own song titles. Into the Ether. Kind of a mellow sort of ballady tune on my Guitar Nerd album. That is all Axe Effects. I think every guitar part on that I did with the Axe Effects, and I love the sounds on that song. It's got an emotion to it and a color to it and stuff that it has it makes no difference how I recorded it, is what I'm getting at. Okay. Benjamin says, if I was to recommend an audio interface for a home studio guitarist, what would I recommend? He uses a Mac with Thunderbolt. He's considering the UA Apollo Twin Duo or Apogee Duet, but he's also making other considerations for Focusrite and Motu and stuff. The first two you mentioned, the UA and the Apollo, the UA and the Apogee, those are the interfaces that I have owned and I'm comfortable with. When I first started out, I was using a PreSonus interface, and that PreSonus interface was really good. I have to say it was a great piece of gear. It was inexpensive, and I think they make great stuff. And the only other two that I've owned are the Apogee, both the Ensemble and the Duet, and the One, Apogee One as well. And UA interfaces like the Apollo 8 and Apollo Twin, and I can't recommend high enough the Apogee products as well as the UA products. I think they both make a terrific product. Similar feature sets. They're both offering plug-in bundles now with their interfaces. With Apogee, it's the Wave stuff, and with UA, it's their own UA branded plugins. Great stuff, all of it. You just got to kind of try it, watch a bunch of stuff online, see what you like. But I'll say that you'd probably be happy going either way, either with the Apogee or the UA. They're both terrific products. It's like picking a BMW or a Mercedes. They're both excellent, and both make a terrific product. Okay, Bryden asks. He says he sees I'm using the Helix, and another Helix question, very popular these days, the Helix. Says, am I going to share any of the Helix presets that I create? I would be totally happy to do that. If I was going to do that, I would probably make some exclusively to share with the Line 6 community. And if anybody from Line 6 is watching this, like my buddy Matt or anybody, I would be happy to do that at some point. Create maybe 5 presets or something like that are my specific presets that I create sort of for that purpose. So yeah, I would have no qualms with that at all. Let's see, Andrew from Scotland. He says, how important was GIT and MI to me? I was a GIT student many moons ago. Would I still recommend going? Given my experience and stuff, is a good route. He says, he was going to attend around the same time as me. That's a long time ago. But funding was an issue, and he lived in Scotland. Well, I will say that it was a very important move for me, both from the aspect of attending MI, the things that I learned there, the people that I met there, the networking I did there, and that kind of thing, and as well as just moving to LA. You're from Scotland, just getting to LA and getting into the music community and meeting people, making friends, and contacts and stuff. It's a huge thing. So there's no substitute for actually physically being in a music center. I was talking to somebody the other day. She's a guitar player. She's a really talented guitar player, and she was saying, that she's a singer-songwriter but also a guitarist. Happens to be very good at guitar, and she said, do you think that maybe I should pursue this route, because I seem to be getting more interest in my guitar playing than as me as an artist, kind of doing what I do, I guess, sort of being a side guy or sessions or things like that. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And she said, well, can I do it from here? Is there because she lives out of the US, and could I just do it from here and have people kind of scout me online and that sort of thing? And I said, maybe within if you move to a music center in your own country. But I said, you kind of being in Nashville or LA, or even with the power of the internet these days, it's like being physically present in a music center where things like tours are put together and where records are made and sessions are happening. There's no substitute for that. If an audition comes up for a big gig tomorrow, which has happened, for me, where it's a 24 hours notice or something, learn these 3 songs and go down and do it, and then I've gotten the gig. It's like I couldn't have done that if I was, living in my home country of Canada or something. Canada would present other opportunities, I guess, musically. But being in LA, a lot of tours are based out of here, major tours. This is where a lot of rehearsals happen, and things like that. So just being here, like, what do they say, 99% of it is just showing up or whatever. It's true. Right place at the right time and all that, where you can sort of, stack the deck in your favor as far as the odds go about being in the right place at the right time if you are in a place where there's more things happening. So, got off on a tangent there. We were talking about MI originally. I think MI is a terrific school. I don't know, to be honest, quite that much about it academically these days. I know that it's far expanded beyond when I went there as far as the programs offered and the types of things available to students, to kind of further their studies. So I can imagine that it would be terrific being there at this point. So yeah, I can't recommend it enough. I mean, furthering your education and being in a music center, it certainly can't hurt. Okay, let's see. Oh, and he has a second question as well from Andrew here. He says, do I wear ear protection live? And if so, what? Well, I don't specifically wear earplugs and that sort of thing. On most of the tours I've done in recent years, I would say, 60-70% of them, I've been using in-ear monitors, just because that's kind of what you have to do. That's what the production dictates to you, so you use those. And then you've got control over your volume. And I try and keep it as low as possible these days just to preserve my hearing. Just by putting those things in your ear, you're blocking out about 30 dB of stage sound, and then you're bringing up your mix and getting it to the point where it's comfortable. Making sure you don't turn those things up too loud, though, is of prime importance. It can be real easy to goose those in-ear monitors where it feels good, it sounds great, and then you get a lot of ringing afterwards. And I just think having those drivers right on your eardrums possibly could do worse damage than just a loud stage environment if you're not careful. But as long as you keep the volume low, that really helps protect hearing. So having said that, if I'm doing a gig where there's monitors, which I have done some in the last few years, and that sort of thing, I've been lucky enough that the stage volume's been pretty low. Touring with Don Henley, it was very low on stage. Touring with Melissa Etheridge, a little bit louder, but still quite low. And a big factor was with the Melissa Etheridge stage, the drums were offset way over on stage left. So they weren't right in the center stage, they were kind of offset because there was keyboards behind me, so kind of 2 risers and the drums were way over there. So just having the kit like kind of far away, not getting that direct impact of the snare drum and the cymbals and stuff, a few feet further away, excuse me, that made a big difference. Okay, let's see. Jeremy asks, young musician, what advice would I give to, this is such a broad question, to a young musician trying to make it? How do you even do it? I don't know, man. I really don't know these days. I have no idea. I mean, it's like the Wild West, Things have changed so much. With the internet, obviously, you can do what I've done here. You can start a YouTube channel and kind of, develop a global community of people that watch you. And that's really powerful. As far as writing songs and getting record deals and all that stuff, man, I do not even know what that looks like anymore. I really don't. The whole streaming thing has changed the game. It's fluid right now. It's changing. People are discovering that, I saw an article in the news the other day about the guy that wrote It's All About the Bass, that got 170 million streams on Spotify, and he got his royalty check from Spotify. It was $5,600 for 170 million streams. There's a problem there. It's just, it can't sustain itself, I don't think. So what do you do? Well, there's a million other ways you can make money in the music business, that's for sure. But what would I recommend? Well, just become, first of all, really competent on your instrument and get in a band, start writing songs and getting out and playing. It's the same old stuff that people always did. Look at some people that have been really successful. I was really impressed with, oh my god, I'm going to forget the dude's name now. Hold on a second, I'm going to figure out this guy's name. Okay, the guy's name that I was trying to remember is Ed Sheeran. I hope I'm saying his name right. I never know if I'm saying his name right. But he's a really talented young songwriter from England, as many of you know, I'm sure. A guitar player. And the guy, I read a little bit about him recently, and his story is really, really interesting. Here's a guy that he was young. He came to LA and just sort of hit the streets with his guitar, you know, doing open mic nights and playing wherever he could. So gigging out everywhere, singing his songs. Attracted the attention of Elton John as well as Jamie Foxx. I think Jamie Foxx invited him to record in his recording studio because he has one. And so now he's got these major people kind of backing him. So really just kind of beating the street and doing it old school. And doing it, once again, in a music center in LA, you know, coming here and doing it. Now, having said that, super savvy young social media guy as well. So I'm looking at a really powerful web page here called socialblade.com, and on Social Blade you can compare different YouTube channels against one another, and you know, see their projections as far as, you know, if you've got a YouTube channel, it'll project where you're going to be in a year or 5 years, that kind of thing, how many subscribers you'll be gaining, how much you can possibly earn via, you know, being a YouTube partner, Google AdSense, and all that. So Ed's statistics on YouTube, he's got 84 uploads, which isn't a hell of a lot. Subscribers, 8,900,000 subscribers. Video views, it's astounding to me. It's 3 billion. It's just over 3 billion video views. It's absolutely incredible. He ranks 83rd on as far as YouTube channels go, which is really, he's in the top 100. He's got 83 million video views in the last 30 days alone. It's astounding, you know. So it also lists the type of income that he could be receiving for, you know, ads and things like this. It's just an estimate, and it's a huge range of estimate, but it estimates that he's making anywhere from about 250 grand a year up to $4 million a year just off of revenue off of his YouTube channel. That translates to about 20 grand a month to $330,000 a month on the top end. It's probably falls somewhere in the middle. That's success, I would say, you know, for a young guy. So it's this amazing combination of he obviously was super savvy with the social media, you know, I'm sure Instagram, YouTube, his web presence and everything else, but then also beating the street and doing it old school with an acoustic guitar and just playing out at open mics and stuff. I don't know. That's success to me, I would say. So check out Ed, and also just look at socialblade.com as an interesting sort of tool to kind of check out YouTube channels and social media sites and what's working and what's not. Just gotta call up my questions here again. Okay, let's see here. Okay, this is a really good question from Landon about pedal boards. I like this question a lot. He says, if I was going to spend about 150 max a pedal, what would I recommend as far as putting together a pedal board for using live and in the studio? I would recommend using Boss pedals. And Boss pedals are fantastic. They've been, you know, Boss is on a roll right now, like with this Waza stuff that they're releasing. They just put out a reissue of the classic CE2 chorus that also does CE1 sounds. There's the analog delay. They've reissued the classic vibrato. You know, you can easily make a killer sounding pedal board out of all Boss pedals these days. And this is completely, I'm saying this off the top of my head. It's not because I love Boss. I do. I think they're terrific. They make great stuff. But if you're looking for inexpensive, you can't go wrong. And, you know, got pros out there like, Prince. He used a Boss pedals primarily, is all he used for his whole career. So, you know, look no further than maybe making a cool, simple pedal board out of Boss pedals. You can find them in any city if they go down and break while you're on the road. You can always replace them. Absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. For other brands, I would say look at stuff from MXR. They make great, you know, carbon copy delay. It's really inexpensive. Carbon copy and both the carbon copy Bright and Carbon Copy are terrific delays. I would also look at pedals from TC Electronic because they make fantastic stuff for, you know, like the flashback delay I love, and the Hall of Fame reverb. They make it in mini versions as well. Those are great, extremely affordable. You know, between Boss, MXR, and TC, you kind of can't go wrong. Okay, Brad is from Hamilton, Ontario, and he says he was wondering about building patches at home on modelers that would translate well to a full band setting. He's got a Boss GT8. I had one of those. I like that unit. And he says he's always struggled with getting the sims and patches that he thinks that sound good at home to translate to live. Well, here's what I did. Because I've got a load box like the Sur Reactive Load here, I can easily plug in an amp head and then listen to it through studio monitors with some speaker simulation. What I did was I hooked up my entire guitar rig. This is when I was setting up an Axe FX rig. It's kind of an alternate or B rig setup for my full guitar rig. So I hooked up my entire touring guitar rig at home with my amp heads and you know, running it into the load box, listening to through studio monitors, had all my effects up and all that kind of stuff. And so I have that all going, and I simply had on an A/B box the Axe FX, so I could A/B back and forth between my real amp rig with some speaker simulation and then the Axe FX. And all I did was I duplicated all the patches as close as I could on the modeler to my real amp, and that worked. It was amazing. I was astounded at how I could take the Axe FX then put it in a live situation and the sounds really translated. And this includes setting volume levels, because that's very important. When you're making patches on a modeler, sometimes the volume levels can jump all over the place. You'll think you have it right, and then you get a band situation, you hit a certain patch and it sounds like, you know, the sound's disappearing or something. So, you know, just if you have the option of having an amp rig and your pedals and all that, and you can listen to that, and then maybe it doesn't have to be through studio monitors. You could have your amp sitting there, you know, and just on an A/B box, and then kick over to the whatever you listen to your modeling unit through. Maybe if you got a like small PA you can plug it into or something. Just go back and forth, compare each of your sounds, and try and match them to the real thing. Something about hearing a real amp and you know, the traditional effects pedals or whatever you got going. Something about hearing that and then basing the modeled sounds off of that as closely as possible. That really worked for me. I found it translated perfect. Okay, let's see. Rick has a silly question for the Wednesday show. Do I watch The Walking Dead? And am I aware of how much I look like a grown-up Carl? You know what? I've only seen the pilot for The Walking Dead, the very first episode, and I actually thought it was awesome. I was like, oh my god, I gotta get into the show. But I'm into so many other shows that one of these days I look forward to getting into The Walking Dead when I have time and checking it out. Miguel asks, touring across the world, how do I deal with different voltages in different countries? Well, luckily most of the tours I do kind of handle that for me, because there's always a local road crew. So for example, in France right now, I've got my tech in France, Luki. Coincidentally, is the same tech I had on a different tour with a different artist in 2013, and Luki takes care of it. He rents the right, step-up transformers or step-down transformers or whatever you need for the power, and that's something that the local crew knows. They've got American musicians coming in. Okay, I'm a Canadian musician, but you know what I'm saying. Foreign musicians coming in with their foreign gear, and they're gonna rent the right power transformers for you. So that's really helpful to have. Somebody that is on that end that kind of knows with the backline company what to do. Now, if you're doing a DIY kind of tour, you gotta get with the backline companies over in Europe or in Japan or whatever, and just say, hey, we're coming with our amps and we need to make this happen. And I'm sure they can help you out. Not too big of a deal. Okay, last question from Rick. He says he's trying to decide between a Strymon Flint or a Strymon Blue Sky reverb. Is the reverb on the Flint as good as the Blue Sky? And which way should he go? Well, I think it's as good. I love the reverb on the Flint. Mike Landau uses it live. I've seen him use it, and that's a testament enough for me. It's a terrific sounding pedal. Plus, you get that awesome tremolo, and the harmonic tremolo in the Flint is delicious. It just sounds amazing. Kind of almost vibey, like halfway between a tremolo and a univibe or something is what I think of it as. It's a really cool sound. So I use the Flint primarily. I do have a Blue Sky. It's a great sounding reverb. Not knocking it. It's terrific. But if I had to pick one to go on a pedalboard, it would be the Flint, and it's because it's a multitasker kind of pedal, and you can do the tremolo with it as well. Okay, that's it for this week. Thanks for joining me. I really appreciate it. Hey, I just wanted to say that I'm just so stoked on you guys and everybody coming back and watching these videos and the questions, and there's so much enthusiasm, and everybody's really kind to me online. I talk with a lot of my friends that have YouTube channels, and a lot of times you get trolls and the negative comments and stuff like that, and I have such a minimum of that on my channel. like the vibe is so good that, you know, it's literally for every, you know, 250 or 300 positive things, there'll be one troll that comes out of the woodwork or whatever and says something negative. But I feel really just blessed that, you know, people are so kind to me online, and it really means a lot when you guys leave me these nice comments. I don't always answer all of them because I can't, you know, there's just not enough hours in the day for email and all that stuff, but it's been a really, really wonderful thing, this whole experience of the YouTube thing for me. And I love doing these Q&As and helping out however I can. If anybody's interested in what I've got to say, I think that's, you know, it warms my heart anyway that I get so much positive stuff back from you guys. And I can be having a crappy day or whatever, but sometimes all I need to do is go online and look at some video I put up a few days ago and look at the responses and see that it's helped somebody out, or that, you know, somebody you know, got a good tip out of one of these videos or something like that, and it meant a lot to them. And yeah, just feels really good. So alright, hit subscribe if you haven't, and come back and see me real soon for more videos. I'm going to upload a new demo video tomorrow, and I'm also headed back to France to get some more touring done over there. Alright, take it easy. I'm Pete Thorn, over and out.